I think the greatest thing that ever happened in South Florida broadcasting history was when the Marlins realized their egregious mistake of letting this man go from their broadcast there as the color analyst, where he was doing an outstanding job and was beloved by everybody. And then, well, we're going in a new direction. I want to go. And tell you, well, you're not on board there, Tommy. But bringing him back, I think, was as monumental an accomplishment for the Marlins franchise as winning the 2 World Series. We welcome on the show the great Tommy Hutton. Tommy, how are you, my friend? Good to have you on the show.
Hey, well, first of all, I don't know if it compares with the 2 World Series, but I got to go back to the clip that you played before, the past clip, when I asked you to squeeze me a 20. I made that 20 back recently, taking the over-under on the wheelchairs for your junket to Atlantic City.
So. You hit that right away, man. People went straight to the window. They didn't even bother picking up their... You should see those people sprint, though, when they get to the Atlantic City airport, and then the bus is like, a few feet away, and they all just fly right out of the chair there, and it's like all of a sudden you're watching Carl Lewis in the track meet in the long jump. It's amazing.
Yeah, a new event in the Olympics.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Now you know why I couldn't do it, Mike Lubitz. And good morning, everybody. Glad to have you guys with us for a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. I couldn't use, even though I don't know that I was in need of it. I mean, I was walking pretty slowly in that Bahamian airport there in Nassau. And I had the broken toe, which my buddy, Dr. Jerry, who I played tennis with, and we did get back out there in the courts last week for a very pathetic session on my part. But, the timing and everything. So, see, I mean, as you get older, the longer you lay off, it's kind of like a boxer, where the guy gets up into his 40s and, then has a 2-year layoff and decides to make a comeback like Roberto Duran or even my man, Danny Little Red Lopez, sadly came back after 6 years. 6 years away from being knocked out by Salvador Sanchez, one of the greats of all time. I mean, destroyed in the second rematch bout. 6 years later, he decides to make a comeback, probably because he needed the money, right? I mean, some guy offers him $3,000 to go fight at a Ramada Inn somewhere on the outskirts of Bakersfield. And there's, the former world champion. And you're thinking, wait a minute, how's this guy on the card here at this, Moose Lodge where they're having the fights tonight? It's also like a bingo celebration and a bring your own, dish to the party, right? And they are trying to encourage new membership, and a guy comes back. But I mean, you lose so much, right? As you get older, you really lose a lot on those layoffs. It's not as easy to come back. That's why LeBron is an amazing specimen. Although he's only 38, but that's dog years, when you're talking about an athlete that's been in the league for 20 years, Lubie. Can you believe it?
That's
20
crazy.
years.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable, yeah. But, Tommy Hutton, that'd be an odd thing if Tommy Hutton and I were ever together on one of those junkets using wheelchair assistance. But my guy, Dr. Jerry, told me he was within an eyelash of recommending surgery for this thing. He said it was that bad. So I could have used a wheelchair assistance there and been justified, but, everybody would have been looking at you with disparaging looks. You look fine to me. I mean, unless you're an amputee, they don't want to see you in like a wheelchair in the airports because they know that you're just doing it so you can get to the front of the line. And that's about it. And that's what these people do. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday, a wonderful weekend that we have. Wow. I mean, we've had this debate many, many times. I think the answer pretty much, you would find the majority of people like the fall as their favorite time of the year in sports. Springtime does not hold, a distant second to fall, you would have to say, in terms of giving you all kinds of different things, right? Because you have the NCAA tournament coming up and all of these conference tournaments, the big ones anyway. Canes, Lubie, a number 1 seed after beating Pittsburgh over the weekend, a 2-point win. How deflating was that? And then the long wait to the Pittsburgh game. What happened in that game against Florida State? That was a little frightening, was it not? Lubie, as you look at blowing a 25-point second-half lead and then losing the game on a buzzer beater when you had a chance, I guess, would that not have clinched the ACC regular season for the Miami Hurricanes if they had beaten Florida State that night?
Probably. I mean, I guess if they had lost, because they ended up.
Obviously, if they were a game ahead of Pittsburgh at that point, because they must have been in a dead heat with Pittsburgh, beat them.
Yeah,
I don't
we
know
still,
whether tiebreaker scenarios involved. I'm not sure.
yeah, because it ended
Why,
up
why
being,
didn't you look it up, Defo? Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
ended up equal. What was it to Virginia? They're equal to one of them. So I don't know.
Well, they won the ACC. They're the number one seed.
Are they okay? I
Yeah.
thought they tied it. Didn't they tie someone?
Maybe they did, but they end up with the number one seed somehow.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they won the regular season, which is great. We have very little interest in the big schools, though, in the NCAA tournament, Lubie, as you know.
Yeah, they had the
'Cause,
same conference record as Virginia, but they must have beaten Virginia head to head.
I believe they did. I'm going to say yes to
They're not.
that.
So if they had won that game versus FSU, then Pittsburgh's game wouldn't have mattered as much.
It wouldn't have made any difference. I believe they would have had the thing wrapped up. Well, because they could have afforded to lose to Pittsburgh. They would have been tagged with one more loss, one more conference loss. Anyway, good stuff. But who cares, right? These teams are of no meaning. These big teams. I mean, you can have your Houston's and your Alabamas immersed in one controversy after another. And all of the big UCLA, everybody's kind of latching onto the UCLA bandwagon. Lubie, are you there? You hate UCLA, I believe. I don't know why.
I don't have an issue with UCLA. I just
No?
haven't. They haven't been since the Ben Howland years. They really haven't been a factor. So what was it? The Russell Westbrook and Kevin Love years. Like they haven't.
Tyus Edney, remember Tyus Edney going down the middle there?
That was the 90s. They resurged where they went to like 2 or 3 straight Final Fours.
Yes.
Around the same time, the Gators were really good again with Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook and Aaron Aflalo. They had some really good teams in the early 2000s, and they haven't really done much since. And so it's hard for me to believe in them. Like you always hear them thrown out there because of the talent that's there, but Sidney Wicks.
I think as a kid, I have to make this admission here, and maybe it'd be therapeutic to actually just come clean on this here in front of our public on South Florida Live. And great to have you guys tuned in. I haven't had a chance to kind of glance at the comments yet, but always appreciate it when people start weighing in bright and early here on a Monday morning. Brett Tessler, the agent of the Stars, is going to join us about 7:30. A lot of weird stuff going on in the National Football League of significance. And, you're thinking, how is that possible that they always manage to be in the news? Here we are talking about springtime, but they're never out of it, right? Never out of it. By the way, if The Rock wasn't the owner of the XFL, would anybody know it existed?
I stopped watching this week. I did one weekend. I got into it. Last weekend, I sort of watched it, and this weekend, I forgot it existed and had no.
I saw some highlights. They didn't look half bad. I guess Josh Gordon is in the league. And,
Yes.
this is a guy, that smoked his way out of the National Football League, which, you would think that would be a relatively minor offense, would you not? With all the stuff that's going on. Jean Morant will be back in the NBA whenever he feels like it. He got a 2-game suspension for, waving a gun while shirtless in some strip club somewhere. I don't even think it was a strip club. It was just like some disco.
Well, he was hanging out a week ago with, some kid where he threatened a kid. He was playing,
it's crazy.
And he threatened a kid with a gun, and that was a story that was out there, and he wasn't punished for it. So this coming on the heels of that, where he actually put it on video. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I don't know what to do with it. He was a guy out of Murray State. He was from South Carolina.
Seemed like a humble, great story, didn't he?
And he and Zion grew up playing AU together, and Zion went off to Limelight, and he was, because it was short and little, no one knew how good he was.
Yeah.
So he carried Murray State and then became the second pick that people like you thought maybe could have been better than Zion. And so far he has been. So he was humble and he said all the right things and he played defense and he shot the 3 and he could dunk and he did everything. And so the image we got was a guy that was humble. Maybe not.
I think we might have been misguided by our first impression of Jean Morant. It's kind of like Kawhi Leonard, right? Where you thought, wow, this guy is great. He has zero ego whatsoever. I remember Tom Rinaldi. I've talked about this a few times. Never forget this interview. Kawhi Leonard just carried San Antonio to an incredible victory. And, it was really like maybe the 4th or 5th guy you would talk about on that team at the time. So they have him on the post-game interview with Tom Rinaldi, and Rinaldi is just schmoozing all over this guy. He stopped just short of, I don't even want to say
it. Ejaculating.
This could have been, a scene that Deshaun Watson would have appreciated the way Rinaldi was treating him. And Leonard just wouldn't bite on it. He wouldn't, get into the whole gushing thing, and he was just very, I mean, almost as if it was the last place he wanted to be. He said, "No, I'm just out here to help my team win." And you thought, "Wow, he meant it." And then later we found out he was crazy, right? Where he all of a sudden, didn't want to play for San Antonio anymore. Who doesn't want to play for Pop? I guess the team he has right now.
Yeah, exactly. Kawhi
You can't be any more dog meat. I wish Skippy had gotten a piece of San Antonio last night, right? Because this was the worst display of dog meat basketball you could possibly get. Where, I mean, they lose by 30 to the Rockets, who were trying to tank. That was probably the most interesting result out of the pros last night. Rockets by 30 over San Antonio. And poor Greg Popovich, right? Did you ever think you'd be saying that? Poor Greg Popovich. All those years where he undressed an unsuspecting Craig Sager. I guess Sager knew what was coming, right?
Yeah, they were friendly, supposedly.
Maybe so, but I mean, it wasn't a good look. It was like one of those things where Popovich, do you have to be so rude to this guy, even if you're kidding?
Well, the Doris Burke was worse.
Oh, he hated Doris Burke. Yeah. By the way, does Beth Mowins, the female play-by-play announcer, have the worst voice of any play-by-play announcer that you've ever listened to in your life?
She's
Not because she's a woman. I mean, there are many women that have great voices and could do this.
She's trying to do the broadcast. Look, it's what Visser Mama
Seems like a delightful lady, and nothing personal. I mean, it's just every time I hear it, Lubie, I don't want to, I mean, we love Joe Zagacki, but the voice ain't exactly,
well,
gonna make you forget Ray Scott.
Look, I can't judge anyone's voice with this.
Yeah.
It's what I don't know how to do. Like, it's when people.
Your voice would be more pleasing to the ear as a play-by-play guy than Beth Mowins.
You call it the affected broadcaster voice, and it's what people do with regular voices, and they want to sound like a broadcaster. Yeah. You sound like yourself. You have a broadcaster voice, whether you're on air or not. You sound like you're doing a call.
Julia mentioned Susan Wallen, but she doesn't do any play-by-play.
No, she also owns her voice. Her voice is horrendous, and she doesn't even try to change it. Like Beth Mowins clearly is like, hello, like she's trying. Like, lady, just do the call. Like,
she sounds like Brittany Griner. Or trying to. I don't know. I mean, Griner still. It's very strange, even with the haircut when she speaks. I mean, casting no aspersions, towards people of any walk of life, but the voice is a little bit of a shocker, is it not? When you first hear it,
it's just deep. She has a very deep voice.
You're thinking, you said what? You're on the swim team? Imagine Griner swimming. Wow, she'd probably be brilliant.
So that's my issue with Mo is it's like
it's strange. It just sounds strange. I don't know what it is. Maybe you're right. She's forcing it. I'm not sure what it is. I mean, like I said, she seems like a very pleasant, like when you see her at the beginning of the show, if they show her, which they don't always, but but when she's doing college football, and I think that they even have her doing like a pro game last year. Beth Mowins, man. Why is she in such high favor and regard with the ESPN brass? I mean, there have to be other women that would be qualified to give this a shot. No, she's like the only one. Incredible. And anyway, what's up?
I was gonna say ESPN's been at the forefront of pushing up minorities and women, so that's probably a lot to do with it.
Most of the women would not say that, even though I mean, obviously they've given a lot of women jobs in broadcasting and now very prominent positions, and many of them are extremely well respected. Mm-hmm. For the most part, I mean, they've done a pretty good job of that. Although, what wasn't this whole discrimination thing a big issue going back? With our favorite there, Rachel Nichols. Wasn't she talking about? Oh no, she was talking about the fact that she didn't like that this Turner woman, who does seem a bit aggressive, does she not? Maria Taylor. Maria Taylor is her name.
Read Andy's.
That was Tina Turner I was thinking about. She was great. I love Tina. Everybody did.
Read Andy's comment. It's okay. I'll give you a second. I'm live on air. Just read the comment.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, she does sound like the guy that was riding the subway next to you on your way to Sunnyside Garden to see the fights. With genial Johnny Addy at the microphone, by the way. What made him genial? I guess he was always very friendly to everybody.
He's a nice guy.
Johnny Addy. I don't know that I ever met Johnny Addy. I've met just about everybody else that I idolized as a stadium or ring announcer or track announcer. But I don't think Johnny Addy might have checked out before I cared. Although I was a huge fan. A little guy in a tuxedo, man. He looked the part, and a mic would come down from the ceiling. And Addy wasn't one of these show, guys like Michael Buffer are going to sit there and get the spotlight put on me. It's, it was just strictly all business. The time, but it resounded, resonated throughout the arena. Resonated is the word I was looking for, Libby.
Yes.
All right, so Weenie Team's making a conference tournament. That's where we started this thing,
Stay away.
and we didn't digress at all, did we?
No, we've stayed in basketball.
The condemnation of Beth Mowins.
I don't
What else? Yeah.
It sucks. It's just
Brittany Griner, we made, cast aspersions towards people, LGBTQ, QT community, all of that. We really fucked ourselves. That's what.
100%.
If this wasn't so much fun, we wouldn't do it, right? I mean, that's exactly the way it is. Who do you like? Any of these teams? If now the Kennesaw State, did they punch their ticket to the big dance? I think they did. Did they not? Kennesaw State.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe they did, and they joined some other teams that are already in Weenie schools. UNC Asheville, Drake,
Nice.
Southwest Missouri.
Nice.
Okay, and both Lipscomb and Liberty got knocked out by, I think, Kennesaw State in that ASUN tournament. Liberty's in the same conference, right?
What a run.
I went to my bookie. I said, give me Liberty or give me death. He said, you know what? I'm going to write that down.
Exactly.
Who said that, by the way? Was that Nathan Hale? He was a traitor. Why would he say that? Who's that?
Patrick something. I'll look it up.
Oh, yeah. Some guy named Pat. All right, so all of that is getting underway. Kane's the number one seed. That's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really gotten a grasp on how Jim Larinaga is doing this. Have you? I know we've analyzed it. We've talked to him. He's
Patrick Henry. See, I got the first
Patrick
name.
Henry. Good call there, Louie.
I don't know what the fuck Patrick Henry is, but I know that name.
No, that was good. Give me liberty or give me death. I mean, that's a great line, is it not? I mean, that really, embodies the spirit of the Ukrainians right now, right? They're going by that credo: give me liberty or give me death, and they're willing to go ahead and actually, become a part of that. That is bizarre. How does the world not just end up putting a stop to that, huh? Nuclear war, I guess, would be the big threat there, Lubie, because what's happening there is just absolutely agonizing to see any kind of coverage on, is it not? It's just so disheartening to see what's happening in the Ukraine.
Oh,
And we're at the point now, like with the mass shootings, where we just shrug it off. Oh yeah, look at that, a couple of more buildings blown up, right? Hospitals, little kids. I mean, it's torture.
Well,
Scott Pelley, what's that? Go ahead.
My problem is it's what Sarni brought up, and I think he's bringing up tongue in cheek. My problem is the Republicans keep finding new issues that were never an issue that no one cares about, even on the right, to focus and yell about.
Yeah.
And we actually do have issues. Like, I've never said America's perfect. We have a lot of issues, and it's not the Democrats are perfect, but they don't want to focus on any of the real issues. They'll either bring back up abortion, bring back up immigration, or they'll bring up new stuff. Well, drag shows. Who gives a shit about drag shows? What does that have to even do anything? And I've never in the middle of my day go, those fucking drag shows. I don't, it's just a weird thing to worry about. Like, the DeSantis up.
It never bothered me, man. I mean, none of this. And my dad was a theatrical person, and so there was all kinds of stuff that he was interested in, and we got a little glimpse of it, my brother and I, because he was very big about letting you experience a little bit of everything, so to speak. And so it was great. And plus, I mean, the culture that I grew up in, though, and I would imagine you old geezers out there, that grew up, and people always talk about, if you like New York so much, go back to New York. I don't know that I love New York, but I'm glad I grew up there.
Yeah.
Because it was a cultural mixed bag in my neighborhood that, and it was also at a time that predated where kids were on cell phones all day and playing video games. And so you had to go out in the streets and invent your own fun. And we couldn't wait to get out there, and it didn't matter. I mean, if you had ventured accidentally into a neighborhood where it wasn't necessarily, appreciated that you were a Caucasian male running around, so it happened, right? But I mean, you were able to deal with all of that and experience it. Whereas these people that live in like a segregated deep south or something, they have no idea what the hell
Oh, clue. Yeah,
they're
they
thinking
probably-
about. It's just absolutely nuts. Ron DeSantis is going to straighten all this out when he's president.
Yes.
Is he not?
Sure.
I mean, it's weird that CPAC thing. They showed some, clips from the CPAC thing where Trump, said, I'm back to save your ass again, which I find a little bit of a difficult thing. They even left out some of the criminal indictments when they
Yeah,
put them
exactly.
up on the crawl. Like they left out the whole thing in Georgia, which I think is the most outrageous. I mean, obviously, January 6th, if I'm running against Trump, I'm showing him with that stupid face on. And, and they go, let's go. And I'm showing cops being crushed, and people, just acting like absolute morons. This is what you want this country to become. That's great. There has to be another way. But they had that CPAC thing, and literally it looked like if you were, watching a movie where the FBI scene comes up and they're going through all of the top criminals that you could possibly, like the most wanted, heinous people, from Lady Bulger on down. You had Jim Jordan, and that Matt Getz looks evil. Does he not?
Well, he's been involved in human trafficking. Like when they
Taylor Green was there. I mean, like the most wanted.
They just yell stuff too. It's really weird. Like politicians have always been liars, but whenever they talk to the public, they've always been measured. They yell stuff that they know is openly not true. They just yell shit. It's like, what?
Donnie Boy is much more subdued than he was, in any of the previous go-rounds. That's for sure. All of a sudden, he's kind of meek in his delivery. Well, I'm the only one that just get out of here.
Dude, get away.
Even the other Republicans don't want him. I don't want to get too hung up on that because it's depressing to think that it's coming up again. And this whole nightmare might be relived. Now, not to say that Joe Biden is any saint, but I mean, you would have to say that he's been far more, I mean, even in his senility, has been more presidential, at least in his, you don't have every day another clown show. I mean, like we did.
I don't fight with anyone anymore. Like you can say, well, because we don't care. Well, no, he's doing a good job. Like he's old, he's senile, and not everyone around him's done an amazing job. But look at all the stuff that's happened. They've been talking about a recession for 2 years. Like I don't even know if the recession's happening. Like he's done a good job. And
it does seem like a certain party is trying to do everything in their power to make sure that happens. Right.
Yeah. Well, look, it may happen because it has to, because things were COVID happened and it fucked a lot of things. So eventually it's going to catch up with us. But the fact that it hasn't, it's pretty impressive because it should have. The fact that inflation
we should all be buried. Yeah. No doubt about it.
I mean, these are good things. Whatever.
All right. Now, speaking of burials, they were burying the New York Knicks at the beginning of the season. Julius Randle was coming off a horrible year, Lubie. Horrible. Last year. I mean, he had been an all-star 2 years prior. And then last year, it was like, wow, what happened to this guy? And I don't know what happened to him. Do you? What happened to him last year? Because all of a sudden this year, when most of the narrative about the new, I'm beginning to use that a lot, and I don't like it. This whole thing about the narrative. What do you think, Libby? Is that like a new sports Mayakian type term that people that do talk shows like to use to say, "Hey, we're here. We got this idea from somebody else."
Yes.
The narrative.
Yes. That's 100% what it is.
No, but in general, I mean, and a lot of opinions are formulated by the general consensus of opinion out there that would be then known as the narrative. And and you know me, I mean, what's the first thing I pick up every morning?
Your paper,
besides my pants, is the New York Post, and they were going crazy about Thibodeau. He does not look like an NBA coach, does he? Tom Thibodeau. He slumped over like an old Jew. He, is balding in the back there. He needs a yarmulke. He wears crappy clothes, even though he's getting provided the most expensive and fancy and fashionable athletic clothes. I mean, can you imagine what they have to choose from? Brett Tessler has he's going to join us in a few minutes. I think he has 9,000 pairs of sneakers that were sent to him. He's the agent, for God's sake. Hey, can you get this to your guys? So what does Thibodeau have to choose from that he has to look like a schlep like that? I mean, it's a disgrace. Red Holzman is rolling over in his grave thinking about Tom Thibodeau on the sidelines there. And I know it's become a new, more casual era where the coaches don't wear suits anymore. I kind of liked it when they wore suits. Didn't you?
for the most
It
part.
was incongruous with what they were doing. I mean, they're out there coaching, right?
I
And,
never
and
got
let,
it, actually.
yeah. Well, wearing dress shoes too on that kind of surface, especially if they wax up the floor every now and then to make it look good, so the advertisers get their money's worth. In spite of the fact that it's extremely dangerous for the players. Boston Garden floor was like a bowling alley last night. I mean, hey, do you have those lanes there, Lou? Oh, only lane one? Okay, I'll do lane two. You ever go to a small bowling alley?
I've been to
Maybe a
bowling
bowl
alleys
where they
also.
had like 4 lanes.
Yes, definitely. I've done them
That was
all.
my favorite, man.
I love it.
It was like you're going down in a basement to throw it down. I was really into bowling at one point. Used to be in some money games with guys at Syracuse. We got the key to the gym, and they had we didn't even notice they had a 4-lane bowling alley underneath one of the dormitories. And we had the key to this thing, and we could get in there, and literally all night long, man, it was like Mark Roth versus Marshall Holman.
I would have bowled
Right?
forever.
And there were a couple of guys, there's always somebody that can bowl.
Hmm.
And I wasn't as good as some of these other guys, man. I mean, but I still didn't mind going in there and losing my money. But it was literally like, you were in the Fight Club or something.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
You're going down to some, dark, out of the way place where, it's very impossible for anybody to penetrate, including the cops. And you're just going to beat the living daylights out of each other. Bowling, though, was a little bit more passive than it was in terms of, actually feeling any pain, right? Every now and then you would have like a blister on your thumb. I can't play tonight. I like Nolan Ryan, man, sticking in like pickle juice, all kinds of stuff, just so you could try and get your, $40 back from the night before. No, those guys had some, big wicked hooks, but it was always cool, right? When there was only a couple of lanes as opposed to the mega centers. What do you think, Louie? Where would you rather bowl? A 4-lane bowling alley? There was a place in my hometown there on Long Island, Belmore Bowl. That even though there were 2 other bowling establishments that were far more popular, this one was my favorite place to go because it had like guys that were like completely burnt out hanging around the bar there, and then underneath the bar was a 4-lane bowling alley. Might have only been 2 lanes. How about that?
I don't think I've ever bowled at 2 lanes, but I bowl where there's like a handful.
Yeah.
Which is freaking great. I love it.
Well, I go back far enough where they were setting up duck pins. And it's getting old. It's for the birds, man. It really is. All right, Brett Tessler, the agent to the stars. We'll dive into a little football here with Brett Tessler. He's well versed in other sports too. Maybe you can tell us how is it possible that the Panthers still sit outside a playoff position, Mike Lubie, with a very realistic chance of missing the postseason, even after the acquisition of Kachuk, who has lived up to all of his billing, I believe. Has he not?
He's played well. Yeah, it's not his fault. Where's Ekblad? And their goaltending sucks.
Yeah. Oh, Bobrovsky, man, he looks like a beach whale. It's unbelievable. That Dale Talon, man, he did wonders for that team, right? But this other guy was supposed to be a whiz kid. All of a sudden, he's coming up empty. This Bill Zeno.
Really
all right, we're coming back with Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. He would be well versed in that. I don't know that he unloads completely on the Panthers because he loves them. But, he's had some very insightful comments about what the hell's going on with that franchise. Mayo just hates him, Mike Mayo. He's in a tough spot there, though, right? He was trying to write like the truth and be a crusading journalist. And, obviously you're going to rub some people the wrong way, right? The people that are benefiting from all of these scams and shams that go on in politics, right? Where you're getting $5 billion for a scoreboard that only costs you like $38,000 to put in. Oh, it's all city money. It was designated for that kind of entertainment anyway. I always love that when they do that, right? Well, it was going to be spent anyway on something. May as well build a new ballpark. Okay, great. All right, Brett Tessler going to join us in just a few moments. Hialeah Park, you see it in the background there, and it should be in the foreground of all of your thoughts because, man, it's always exciting at Hialeah Park. I'm sure they're going to do it again after the success they had with El Boxeo there. That took place a couple of weeks ago. That was fantastic. What a great night out that was. And, it's always great to be reminded of how terrific it is to visit beautiful Hialeah Park. From the time you drive in until, you see that beautiful, beautiful casino on the inside, and then you realize the outside is still very much the same. And you got bars outside. They were rocking with a DJ. Yeah, they had so many things going on there, Lubie, that, it was just classic. Real old school entertainment there, as if you were, back in the heyday of everybody celebrating and having a good time. That's what it's all about. Fantastic. They got the slot machines, big jackpots. I saw another one, 12 grand going down just the other day there. They had posted on their website. And, always you're seeing progressives being taken down. The poker room is extremely well run, very professional. If you're a serious poker player, you'll love it. If you're a casual poker player, you'll like it just as much. And I love the Champion simulcasting room, all the great food and drink at Hialeah Park. It's just a great experience all the way around. Generous rewards program. Get a player's card when you come in the door, and you'll be entitled to all kinds of freebies and amenities, including our favorite two-word grouping in the casino business and the gaming industry, Lubie, free play. I love free play. I really do. You know what? If I could just get free play at every casino and then cash out whenever I won something, be a beautiful world, man.
You think?
I mean, call me Henry David Thoreau, my friends. All right, we went safari hunting also over the weekend there for the Rainbow Pick 6. There was a big debate about whether or not it was worth it, because everybody gets excited about this. And we'll get with Brett Tessler here in just a few moments. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:33.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves in the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tessler.
Welcome back to the show. Peel yourself off the Mad Monday here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest along with one Mike Lubie Lubitz. And we welcome to the program. It's always a pleasure to have this gentleman on, and very diversified when it comes to sporting opinion, although central focus obviously is the National Football League. We welcome the agent to the stars, Mr. Brett Tessler. Brett, how are you, my friend?
I couldn't be better. Thanks for asking.
Well, it's good to hear, too, because we know the saying in the National Football League, my kingdom for a quarterback. And I'm not sure, what clarity was left after the combine. I guess Stroud, was throwing the football, and the Alabama quarterback, Young, was going to work out later on a pro day. Does that make any difference? I mean, whether the guy, it always strikes me odd that a quarterback is going to go to the combine and not actually throw the football.
The Florida kid went insane with the vertical and the running, but it was like, okay.
Yeah, this Richardson guy is like the hybrid now. Everybody is in love with this kid. What did you take away from? Was there anything conclusive that we could say after the last week of combine activity in the NFL?
The combine is it's a guide of some sorts. It helps teams. It's another piece of the puzzle. But at the end of the day, I think as teams have learned, at least the smart ones have throughout the years, that anybody's performance there shouldn't change their evaluation of that player up to this point. In many cases, you've had 3, 4, 5 years now with the COVID year to watch these guys play. You've seen them in the All-Star games over the last month. You've gotten to know them a little bit from interviews and stuff like that in those places. Obviously, at the combine, there's a lot more interviews and there's a lot more medical background work that gets done. And frankly, those may be the most important parts of the combine, because the running and jumping, unless a guy does something so drastic, meaning, runs like the worst 40 time or has the absolute worst vertical, where it just shows the guy just simply is a non-athlete and does not have the requisite tools to translate to the next level, only in the most extreme examples would you really affect a guy's status that much. Just the same, if a guy wasn't a good player, who cares if he goes and jumps a 42-inch vertical or benches 30 reps at 225? Never on a football field has there been a bench press brought, a bench rack brought on the 50-yard line. It's still about playing the game. And so the smart teams don't lose sight of that. And so, again, the combine is just another step in the entire process.
Well, again, as an agent, how much do you put it? Because look, and all weekend long, I kept seeing stuff about Anthony Richardson, and look, that's great that the guy is 6'4", 244, and can run a 4.4. Like, that's amazing. He's a quarterback though. Like, he's not a tight end. He's not a wide receiver. He's not a running back. I'm like, haven't we learned like that when it comes to quarterbacks? Yes, Josh Allen was this and then got accurate, but it's rare for a quarterback to learn accuracy. And if they do, it takes time. Like, a guy that is that physically gifted, but threw for 54%, which is abysmal. He has 3 guys that are supposed to go in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft as offensive linemen. So he wasn't getting hit, yet he was completing 54%. Like, that's an atrocity. Like, oh, wow, he's so physically gifted. It feels like it's the 80s again, where like they're reaching for the Jeff Georges of the world. And haven't we seen the Drew Breeses find their way? Like, it's so weird to me for them to still be doing this when it comes to quarterbacks, when so many times Josh Allen's an outlier. He's not the norm.
Yeah, you raised a great point. Josh Allen is the outlier, as in I can't ever remember another quarterback who had the strong arm but inaccurate label put on him. I can never remember any of those guys developing the way Josh Allen did. So yes, you're right. That is the ultimate outlier. And so you just think about all the other quarterbacks through the years. We've mentioned them, from guys like Jake Locker to Kyle Bowler to, the list just, Jim Druckenmiller, the list goes on forever of those guys that teams felt like they'd be able to develop into more accurate passers. Accuracy is something that's usually God-given. Guys have it or they don't. The Josh Allen thing is just one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, and you can't expect that that's going to happen again anytime soon, at least not to that degree. And so in the case of the player you're talking about, if he does get drafted high at this point, it has to be as an overall athlete, because, again, the one thing that at the combine can't be tested is a quarterback's ability to read a defense, quarterback's ability to quickly process things, a quarterback's ability to anticipate things. And that answers your other question about why quarterbacks don't want to test at the combine, because they prefer to do it at their pro day, throwing to their receivers in their environment, running plays that they scripted. So in the combine, it's a far less controlled environment than if a player opts to do certain things at their pro day. So players over time have come to realize the power that they have. And that's a good thing, because, hey, nobody going to this combine, is anybody getting paid to be there? No. You're showing up for free. You're being humiliated. You're being poked and prodded and dissected for public entertainment, where the league just makes millions more dollars for free off people that they don't have to give anything to. So what's a player's motivation to go somewhere to be an environment where the inherent purpose is to find flaws in them and to hurt their draft stock? So it's very smart that the players and agents that are in a position to make those decisions are making them. Obviously, everyone's in a different situation. If you're talking about one of those later round type prospects, potentially an undrafted free agent type that gets invited to the combine, then obviously those guys need the combine a hell of a lot more than the combine needs them. And in those cases, they do and should do everything they're asked to do. But as far as the other player you're talking about, any team that drafts that guy expecting that he's going to make a Josh Allen type of a progression is probably going to end up disappointed in the end.
I sensed a little underlying Gator hatred there in Louis' description of this kid. Although
True though, I watched.
obviously the observations, were on the money. The inaccuracy is something that's very hard to acquire. I had a bone breaker. I wouldn't really call him a friend. I mean, because he wasn't necessarily on our side in a couple of monetary episodes. But Vito, I mean, if it was just based on bench pressing, Louis, wouldn't a Vito have been the number one pick? May he rest in peace. And there are various tabs that remain unsettled, Brett. I don't know if you can help me out there. Have you ever gotten into that kind of mediation as an agent?
Probably not.
Have not.
Between bookmaker and debtor. I would think not. And it's Mac McClung. That would have been the first pick in the NBA if it was just based on like athleticism. I mean, the guy looks sensational dunking the basketball in a slam dunk, and he can't find his way onto an NBA roster as like the 13th man. All right, what's going on with these quarterbacks? Are the Jets crazy? How much is there some liar's poker going on? Some bluffing? I don't know. I mean, what do you think about the way this is playing out with Rodgers and Derek Carr? And do you see any quick conclusion to any of that? Because Rodgers has just come out of the dark. We don't even know if he's playing yet. And, I'm assuming that he's going to play somewhere. The Jets fell in love with Derek Carr, but the Saints love him also. And, any team that needs a quarterback now thinks that this is their guy, even though he's 9 years in the league. And did he ever win a playoff game, Derek Carr? I'm not sure if he did or he didn't. But nonetheless, it seems like the best of, what's out there. What do you see on the horizon there? And are these teams just trying to bluff each other out?
What I see is the most exciting off season that I can remember in, probably about 40 years as a fan of the National Football League, as it relates to the quarterback position this off season. Normally all anybody's talking about is the would-be draft picks because proven NFL quarterbacks simply don't hit the market. In a normal year, you wouldn't even really see a Jimmy Garoppolo out there.
Yeah.
You would never see a Derek Carr. Forget about an Aaron Rodgers. And then on top of that, there's all the drama with what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, what's going to happen with Daniel Jones in New York. And so, again, as a fan, of a team that needs a quarterback, unlike in years past where your only option is to draft one of these guys, anybody, and hope for the best, now you have the opportunity to acquire a known quantity. And so that's pretty exciting. I mean, Derek Carr, you mentioned, didn't have the greatest success or postseason success. In his defense, he was playing for the Raiders. And I don't think anybody would say that over the last decade, that's been the model franchise or the model of stability. So, they've had changing coordinators, they've had changing head coaches,
coaching turmoil,
all these things.
The GM.
Yeah. And so
Mike Mayock was their GM, if you can imagine that. Mike Mayock with his verticality theories.
Yeah, and all the John Gruden nonsense and everything else. It's very difficult for anybody to succeed under those circumstances. And I'll tell you right now, if I were a team like the New York Jets that had that kind of defense and had some of the weapons they have and seemingly is only a quarterback away, the opportunity to acquire any of those guys we mentioned is an unusual thing and clearly an upgrade over what they've had. So, for teams like them, or maybe the Texans, or maybe the Panthers, or maybe the Saints, teams that are really just a decent quarterback from being much more successful, it's a very unique opportunity for a lot of these teams this offseason.
Yeah, how are the Jets going to screw this up? I mean, that would be the question, because they seem to be one of those teams, like you just mentioned, Brett, that may be a quarterback away from being a very good team. I mean, any kind of play. Would Zach Wilson, go down as one of the all-time biggest busts this side of Ryan Leaf at that number 2 position?
At the moment, it's looking like it could be, but you
Yeah.
never know because the kid obviously still has a tremendous skill set, and there's definitely other teams in this league that would like to get their hands on him, and for the right price and see what maybe they can get out of him. Anytime you've got somebody who's that young and that talented, you can't just pull the plug that quick as far as his career is concerned. But as far as his future in New York, I don't know how anybody ever could have thought that taking a Mormon kid from Utah and sticking him in New York City, especially a guy that was as incomplete of a prospect as he was, meaning he was not this was not an Andrew Luck situation.
Yeah.
Where you were drafting somebody who was completely polished and undoubtedly your day one starter. There was a lot of boomer bust quality in this kid to begin with. And while it's, a little too early to completely say that he's finished, I definitely believe that a change of scenery can and should and probably will be in order here at some point.
That was weird. Wasn't he dating like one of his mother's friends?
Yes.
And his mother was like a hot babe. I mean, they had some very strange, I guess, by comparison to other guys who you thought, might be a little bit more grounded in what they were doing and trying to accomplish something as a Jet quarterback. It never seemed to work out. And I don't know. Didn't look like a very bright future for that particular kid. All right, Jim Sarney, our quasi-producer here on the program. I guess it would be producer emeritus or something. He has influence because he's just Bengali type. And he respects your hockey opinion, very deeply. And this is a guy that's not easy to impress with that sort of thing. And he wanted us to ask you what you think. I mean, about the status of the Florida Panthers, who I know you love and are a season ticket holder. Right there on the glass, you'll see Brett Tessler's face pressed there, going, "Come on, Kachuk, put your stick on the puck." Unbelievable. I mean, you get into it. What do you think? I mean, this would be. I think there have been 5 teams in history that have been the best team in hockey record-wise or points-wise one year, and then the subsequent year fail to make the postseason. And they're still on the outside looking in. What do you think? What's going to happen? And what's wrong?
So what's wrong is the salary cap because, some teams are set up cap-wise in any sport to sustain a certain level of success. And other teams, anybody who really understands the way a salary cap works, which is not many of your average fans, all they see is, as you said, a team that was the best team in the league last year, at least as it related to regular season record. And now they're among, the lower teams, the lesser teams. And so from a fan standpoint, it's hard to stomach because this isn't an organization that really gets the benefit of the doubt over the last 25 years or 30 or however long they've been around now. So it's incredibly frustrating. And as a season ticket holder myself, and as somebody who, has really taken an interest and a liking, a love to the organization and the sport, it's disappointing. But on the other hand, you need to understand that with the salary cap, a lot of teams have to take a big step back to take that next leap forward. And hopefully that's the case here. They're going to have a lot of salary cap room next year after getting people like Hornquist off the books. Some of the other expensive, underachieving or over-the-hill players that they have. And so I think next year you could certainly expect them to be more competitive for the postseason again. But to me, it's still the absolute best thing to go to with my family. Great environment, fun sport to watch. And, we really enjoyed becoming a fan of it. So I think you'll see them get back on track. The bigger concern is the lack of draft picks coming up because last year they really tried to go all in, trying to acquire Claude Giroux and the defenseman they got from Montreal. His name slips my mind, but they really tried to go for it last year. It didn't work, and I think they made the wise decision of moving on from Huberdeau and acquiring Matthew Tkachuk because Tkachuk is a far superior player, a far superior, just everything, just the age difference, the toughness that he brings.
Oh, he's been dynamic.
So people down here are fully going to appreciate him because I think we can all agree that the South Florida sports fan by and large is sort of a front runner.
100%.
And so, because of the way this team's gone, I don't think enough people have really paid attention to Matthew Tkachuk and how amazing he truly is. When that team really does turn the corner, hopefully starting next year, Matthew Tkachuk is going to be the main reason. And when a guy like Huberdeau is kind of over the hill and reaching the end of his career, probably in a few years, Tkachuk's still going to be in his prime. So I think fans down here have a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of good, young, talented pieces. And with, again, clearing some cap space, being able to address some other needs, namely defense, I think this team could have a very, very bright future.
All right. Do we have your permission to send that to the Panthers, and they can play that on a recording for the people that want to cancel season tickets if they don't make the playoffs? And I'm going to assume then, Brett Tessler, that you're not in favor of some mild protesting taking place if they fail to make the postseason in the Lexus parking lot.
Listen, fans pay the money, and they're entitled to express their opinion however they like,
All right.
whether it be via social media, whether it be, parking lot protests, as you say.
I'm getting out of a $70,000 car, and he's got a little sign, Zito's got to go.
I would say this. I would say that if any fan base understands futility and suffering,
Yeah.
it's the diehard long-term Florida Panther fan.
No doubt.
I've only been on board here 6 years, 7 years. And so, I've experienced my shares of ups and downs with the team. But again, I can just tell you that, the people they have in place now, the ownership they have, the means that those people have. I mean, the biggest problem in years past was, we had owners who could barely afford to make payroll and could never be aggressive. Now our owner is one of the richest owners in the NHL who's fully committed to winning. It's just a matter, again, of being in the right position to use those resources and spend that money wisely. And I feel like this season, unlike years past, is a little more of a blip on the radar. I really, truly expect big things to come for this team.
All right, yeah, and if Bobrovsky could ever recover his eyesight, and get it anywhere close to 2020, we might be in there with a shot. Brett, always a pleasure, my friend. I'm glad you're not in favor of the mild protest, because Lubie was going to try and organize something if they fail to make the playoffs this year, which seems an impossibility in the NHL. I mean, everybody makes the playoffs.
Yeah, again, unlike years past, this ownership is as or more disappointed than any fans out there. But, again, you just need to understand the nature of the salary cap and the fact that once they weather the storm of this season, things will clear up considerably. And I don't think the team's that many pieces away.
You're a great American, Brett Tessler. We love you, man. Hey, thank you. Appreciate you coming on the show as always, and giving us a little bit of a lift here. We were kind of going down a very sordid and dark path on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday until your appearance. So thanks so much for brightening up the show, my friend.
Always a pleasure, and we'll talk next week, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Tessler.
All right, sounds good. Brett Tessler, Agent of the Stars. We got sidetracked about an hour ago. I was going to make a bold admission about my youth, Lubie, and then somehow we ended up on the CPAC convention and Matt Getz. Natural transition, right? But I have a bold. I was a front-running bandwagon jumping phony as a kid. Here's who I rooted for. I mean, okay, so naturally you had built in the 50s, you had the Yankees. They won every year, right? It was never a contest. They had already clinched. Like by July, they had clinched. And, you were just wondering what guys they were going to get from the Kansas City A's that were going to bolster the team and ensure that they would win the World Series again. That was it, right? So I experienced that. But I then rooted for, check this out, even though I was a Ranger fan, I didn't mind if Montreal won all the time, okay? Because, it was easy to root for them. They were a dynasty. UCLA, college basketball, the Wizard, he's winning every year, man. I mean, they had everybody. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, had made Swen Nader a scrub. No, that was Walton that had Swen Nader on the bench. Imagine this monster rebounder that literally could rip the air out of the basketball and rip your head off at the same time. Kind of had hands like Vito, the aforementioned Vito. And, you ever get in a basketball game and some guy goes right over the top of you and just crushes the ball? And you can hear you can even feel the air being squeezed out of it as it's being raised over your head. And you're realizing that, wait a minute, I thought I had this guy boxed out. That was Swen Nader. and he's on the bench, man. He couldn't even sniff any minutes there while Walton was at UCLA. So I rooted for them, front running phony. And I was a quasi, as much as I like the Knicks. Is this possible? What kind of bizarre, I mean, bipolar sports fan am I that I could also root for the Celtics during their dynastic era?
Yeah, you're weird. You're a weird fan. You're like today's fan.
I'm not like that anymore, though. I mean, years of therapy kind of weaned me out of that.
Well, kids today aren't really fans of teams; they're more fans of players. So I could see that. Like if you were a fan of,
but it was easy to root for the winners, right? I mean, it's Steely Dan time.
Oh yeah, well of course
for the winners of the world, right? And then they're the Knicks.
Why you'll see a lot of people my age that are fans of the Cowboys, the Yankees, like an FSU or an Ohio State, like because you could tell the era, like they grew up in the 90s. Like so they just
the 62 Mets changed that all for me. I had an epiphany when I was 11 that it was more enjoyable to root for really bad teams. Which is why it's such a pleasure to be a sports fan here in South Florida for the most part.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of that.
Literally, I mean, we said this on the Defo on 5 on the Scoop Skolnick 5 Reasons Sports Network thing that we're doing, which I don't know if it's met with any early critical acclaim, but a couple of people looked at it, and it's good. I mean, if we can generate any kind of crossover buzz here about the shows, that would be fantastic, would it not? But it seems to me, I mean, all of the optimism that you might have had, if you had any. I mean, we talked with Glenn Geffner. Even Glenn, who just got canned by this team in one of the ugliest, I mean, just absolutely cruel moves that you would ever see in the broadcasting business. But would you agree, Lubie? A guy that was totally loyal, that did a great job. There was nothing wrong with this man's performance. Zero. No, he's not an old codger. It's not like he's, on his last leg and he's misidentifying players or doesn't know left field from right. What were you going to say, Lou?
No, I said it was a cost-cutting measure, 100%.
Yeah, right. They're probably paying this guy a major league radio broadcaster salary. I don't know. You got to be making like $1.50 for doing that. No, at least, if not more. I mean, I'm sure the really prominent guys are probably making millions, right? You think John Sterling is doing this for nothing?
No. If you like Seeloff that much, and we like Seeloff, so I'm glad he's getting an opportunity.
He's a good kid and paid his dues. Deserves a shot.
You did it with Geffner, and I know Van Horn was retiring because he had a Hall of Fame career. Let them work together then. I don't understand that at all. Outside of money.
It just seems like it would have been a monetary move. Although, I mean, something happened. I mean, this guy's relationship became somewhat estranged, I think, through no fault of his own, Lubie. Where, I mean, as far as I could tell, this was one of the most dedicated Marlin employees that you could have. I mean, you could run any rough scenario about what was going on. Well, you know what, Glenn? The team's lost 27 in a row. All the guys they've called up from the minors are either busts or they're in need of Tommy John surgery right now. And nobody's hitting the ball. I mean, we have 3 guys above the Mendoza line. So what do you think? How's the rest of the season looking? Right? And, Geffner would come back with something that would make you think, it was possible that maybe, all of this negativity could, be overcome. To a reasonable enough level so that you would say, oh, okay, there's rise for hope. But no, I mean, the guy was as loyal as they come. I don't know why you would get. I mean, I know the only reason would be like money, right? That would be it. But it was sort of weird that he couldn't do any interviews last year when you had to go through team approval. That never happens, right? To get a team announcer on a show, like you don't have to go to Tim Donovan to get Eric Reed to come on, do you?
Oh, that's funny. I go to Donovan to get Coach Rothstein.
Yes.
But he just sets it up. It's not like he's never said no to me ever, and Coach never says no to me.
No, we love having Ron Rothstein on the show.
But you're right, Eric Reed. I go right to him, and no one has any problems, and I don't have to confirm.
Any of these guys that do games, right? We've been doing that forever. I mean, it's worthwhile to have the play-by-play guy on because he's seen every play. Even though you're sensing, oh look, is Mick Hubert going to sit there and tell you that the Gators are going to blow for the next 7 years? No.
No. Look, they're always positive, but there's a different level. Like Glenn Geffner would be positive, and we wouldn't call him out on it. Like he would literally explain in a way where it made sense. Like he was.
It made me feel good about baseball talking to the guy. That's what I like. There's so much cynicism about baseball, and yet I'm going to end up watching my share of baseball games, especially because they've been greatly enhanced by the fact that now very prominently displayed. I mean, even on the guy's uniform. Do they have any ads for cash call on any major league players? I thought about calling those guys the other day, except this Michael Consi bailed me out finally with the monetary situation that I was in, which was, hey, where's all your money? This guy worked what I thought would have been a very cinchy proposition, and it took forever, right? Because there's always one more document they want, Lubie. You had no problem. Shirley must be raking it in, man, because you bought this house like in an hour
Well,
and closed like the next day, didn't you?
we worked out where we priced our home perfectly, where it sold quickly, and we had made money on our house. We had a nice, substantial down payment. Like, if you're messing around with down payments right now, good luck. Mortgage, they're doing the
no, you can't just come in with the shirt on your back anymore.
No. We didn't do FHA. We didn't do any.
Yeah.
We went full on.
I was one step away from calling a money store. Which, by the way, I mean, remember how wacky we thought it was? 7.5% when Phil Rizzuto comes on and goes, "Can you believe these interest rates? 7.5%," and like it was a good thing, and then they plummeted down into the 2s and 3s, and of course I don't take advantage of that, but now they're right back up there, right? Phil could come back with the money store, and those guys would look credible. A friend of mine trying to convince me that they were credible, that he worked for them. I'm thinking, there are probably a lot of customers of the money store that might be buried somewhere in the rubble of what was once DeCarlo lots. If you guys remember those commercials during Yankee games. Call Murray Hill 77777. You don't know if you're making an investment in some kind of land that's going to be valuable someday or calling a cab. And you would have been better off calling a cab. That's for sure. But is that a bold admission? I rooted for these teams that were dynasties, Lubie, as a kid until I started rooting for the Mets in '62. Okay. And that's when it changed, and I really had a great appreciation for the bums, for the dregs, for the bottom dwellers, for the Washington Generals of the pro sports universe. Like, you want to see this 0-16 team, or, you wanted to see the Lions turn it around, right? Then when they do, I don't know. I mean, do they ever quite get there? That's my new philosophical question I ask myself every day. Can I get there from here? What do you think, Lubie? We don't know. I mean, there's no specific as to where there is.
Like, are we talking about me or the Lions? Can the Lions get there? No, I don't trust Dan Campbell at all.
Can the Lions get there from here? Is it possible? That's what we're looking at in all of these situations. That's largely what our job is to analyze these things and say, can you get there from here? But I would have to say, watching these trouncings at the Marlins, I mean, and they're not even like losing spring training games. But we know that spring training is meaningless. You don't hear a lot of complaints in baseball about the length of spring training from players. Is there a reason for that? I mean, they're getting as screwed as any of these other athletes are that Brett Tessler mentioned, where they're basically, filling airtime on NFL Network for free, right, by running and jumping. I loved your, dissertation on Anthony Richardson as being a loser. That's fantastic because every day that something is mentioned about the combine, they're talking about this kid now. He is the flash of the combine. Anthony Richardson.
I don't care about that stuff even when it is a receiver or a tight end, but at least it translates. For me, that doesn't for a quarterback. That means all he's going to want to do is run, which is what he did at Florida. The one thing he did well was run. Okay.
I don't remember him. I mean, he looked great in spots. And you thought, wow, this kid's something. The kid that was the most impressive, and his name, I don't even know if I ever knew his name, but we saw him. What was the guy that was the backup at Tennessee that got to start at the end of the year? You know the kid I'm talking about?
Yeah, Joe. The hell's his name? The one that used to be at.
He has like a rocket for an arm, man.
He was at Michigan. Transferred to Tennessee.
Am I talking about the right guy here? I mean, this guy's arm is like Roger Clemens, man. Unbelievable. The rocket. He's great. I don't know. Are you going to get into early season baseball? 162 games. Do they need to change that, Lubie? There's been talk about that forever. I don't know that it does any good to discuss it here on this show, but as it's not going to happen, right? I mean, would you ever see a time where Major League Baseball said, you know what, let's just go for 120, which would be more than enough games, I think, to establish who the cream of the crop was.
Yeah, I mean, baseball used to be about the stats, so that would change a lot of the stats because no one's ever going to.
It would blow everything out of the water. It really would.
Fine. I don't care anymore. Like, the stats have stopped mattering.
They could start a new record book. Just cut that old record book off and say, hey, this is what it was, and here we go. We have new records starting today.
You found me. Baseball season is very long. Like I've always thought that though. Like it just
is that a Ron DeSantis solution? We just eliminate the other book. Yeah. What did he write? Fear Strikes Out. He like took the title from Jimmy Pearsall, I think. Great movie, by the way. Carl Malden and Anthony Perkins playing Jimmy Pearsall, the very, unfortunately unstable at the time, Jimmy Pearsall, who was quite a character in sports. Remember, he hit his 100th home run. You know what he did, Lubie? He ran the bases backwards.
That's way before my time. So Joanne asked a horse racing question, so I don't want to her hang. Did you pay attention to the Fountain of Youth? I know you were.
I did, yes.
All weekend. What happened?
I made a nice score in the Fountain of Youth. I mean, nothing substantial, but and Mayo actually was the key. Mike Mayo, who I respect as a handicapper, he comes up with some good stuff every now and then.
Solid.
So he didn't like. I believe they pronounced the horse's name Forte. It's not named for Frank Ford. I think it's like, hey, that's my Forte. Is that possible? Should I have a little? What is that? An au jus?
An accent.
What is that thing?
An au jus.
An old Jew should be hovering over the thing.
It's called an accent mark.
Anyway, so anyway, Mayo had done a brilliant breakdown about how he was going to go against this horse, based on the fact that Todd Pletcher, I believe this is a Pletcher monster, doesn't usually have these horses, coming. I think it was his first start of his 3-year-old campaign, maybe.
Okay.
And, so there was some logic to what Mayo was saying in that regard, that maybe, this Fountain of Youth was going to be sort of a prep, for the Florida Derby. And then, obviously the Kentucky Derby, you want this horse to be like at premium level, a fitness and everything. It made some sense. And he made a brilliant case for the 8 horse in the race, who, he had analyzed as a horse that had beaten some other horses that have then gone on. And, you look at this, it's called a key race, Joanne, where you look at a race that a horse came out of, and then you see what the other horses that he beat did, and if they go on and they win their next couple of starts, or, next start, you have 2 or 3 horses that came back, won a stakes race, big allowance race. You're saying, wow, that was a hell of a race. He beat a hell of a field. And so Mayo used that logic to deduce that this 8 horse had a chance to win the race. Mm-hmm. But when they came out on the track, Lubie, and, I'm a big believer now, and it's funny because I got this theory from an absolutely insane person, a crazy man, a guy that was literally taken away in a white jacket and a butterfly net out of the MGM Grand Race Book after we talked to him all day and thought he was brilliant. His wife wheeled him into the Chinese buffet. He filled up for $26, and as soon as he came back, they were waiting at his seat to take him back to the asylum that he was living in, where I guess, they let him out once a week to go to the MGM and push this pamphlet he had that looked like this on horse racing, and it had a chapter in it on horse body language, okay? Horse body language, which, and it's kind of like anything. You see a horse comes on the track and he's got that look, you're like, wow. I mean, you can be fooled by this. It's not foolproof. But Forte came on the track and literally looked like... who was the guy? Walter Hughes. I was like was there a U in there? SS, the guy, the great photographer for Sports Illustrated.
Oh yeah, man.
I think that was his name, like Walter Hughes. Anyway, this horse looked like it was on the cover of Sports Illustrated with all the touching up that you could possibly do to make Secretariat look like a cheap plater at Beulah Park. I mean, came on the track, looked great. So I said, I'm just going to put this horse on top and slam it over Mayo's horse. And I couldn't believe it. The exacta came back $17, and I had it pretty good. Yeah, so got back a few hundred on that, and it was wild because everybody was stunned at the payoff because it looked like an exacta that should have paid $8. Forte was like 1 to 2 because going to pay $3 to win, and Mike Mayo's pick, the 8-ball, was like this third choice in the betting, I think.
Oh, interesting.
But it was a big field. I guess they had a crowd there. What was there? Some sucker money in the pools?
Yep. Because they did the Gulf Stream, and a bunch of people I know that aren't in horse racing at all were like, "Oh my god, the taco and tequila thing!
Yeah.
What a blast!" So when those people go out for that, and that's why they.
But those would have been the people that would have been likely to have this exacta. That's why you would think it would be just the reverse. But
a lot of the time, when they go with their wives and their girlfriends, it's about the color of the thing or the name. So Forte's not a name from what I know women are running.
You couldn't have missed this horse as the winner. I mean, I've never seen a horse. I mean, I've seen horses look really good on the track. That horse looked magnificent. I mean, just unbelievable. So it's kind of like the old thing, Michael Jordan shows up at the park with Matthew Dellavedova, who looks like the athlete, right? Is it Dellavedova? No, a little flower boy, doughboy, schlubby fat around the waistline there, short, squatty, no neck, right? Left-handed on top of that. And here's Jordan, a magnificent athletic specimen. Well, who you taking if you got the first pick? And that's kind of how that goes. That Sprint Rogers guy though was nuts. I mean, that was so funny. I'll never forget that because my friend, the Mighty Melendez, and I were spellbound by this guy and his analysis of workouts, and then he was picking winners too. And then literally they took him away like in a white ambulance after the races were over. And he had been, I think he had chugged down 2 quarts of chicken chow mein at the Chinese buffet. I don't know where they took him back to though. Are there asylums just off the strip in Las Vegas, Lubie, that we've overlooked in our many trips out there? Asylums.
I'm sure there's a few of them.
plenty of insane asylums. That's for sure. All right, we're coming back with more Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, man. Wow, spring breakers. I wonder if we have a lot of spring breakers that tuned in the show today just by accident. They happen to pop on their computers, their laptops, and instead of getting on TikTok or whatever, they got right on South Florida Live. Thinking, what? Actually, it'd be a good idea for them later on with the Mike Mayo Lunchbox show because they would find the good places to eat. And a lot of them are in the, Mayo was scouring all over the Lauderdale by the Sea area there where the Even Keel Fish Shack is. He was at Aruba, another classic joint there, which is very different, by the way, we should point out to Michael, than the Even Keel.
It is. No, but
Yeah. It's not even close. Yeah.
Nothing alike. And that's what Mayo's big on is one boat lifts the tide or whatever. Like you can.
There's no integrity in advertising. You know that.
I'm not even done.
No, I'm only kidding.
So there should be integrity. What
Yes.
I'm saying is like the professor, right? They have the foundry. He doesn't hate the other restaurants in that shopping center because people aren't going to eat at the foundry every freaking day.
He should love Houston's because their customers like roaches are running across the street there just saying, I went out of here.
You can be
Party of 5. Yeah, party of 5. They lead you right into the intercoastal. They don't even have a table for you.
So anyways, Aruba's is a cool place for what it does. And even Keel's great for what they do very different things. Like I would not compare the two. They're very different animal. They just are and what they're going for is different. So I'm sure both appreciate what they do in that area and they bring different people. And once you're there, you're like, oh, this place is here. I'll try that next time. It's what I've done a ton of times.
I'll give you this. Okay, let me. This is food for thought since we're on the subject of Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. I would not normally be inclined to gravitate towards a place that was named for an athlete or a coach, as opposed to like a lot of long-term, very traditional local places that had great reputations. I mean, that there are half a dozen places you could just rattle off the top of your head that you're thinking, wow, anytime you're going to the Keys, you should stop at the Fish House in Key Largo, Alabama Jacks, get some conquerors on your way in. And so you're thinking maybe down the list there would be Jimmy. As much as I love Jimmy and figure he wouldn't be associated with something that was going to be crappy, since he is the Keys, he's like the mayor of the Keys there.
Yes.
He's got his complex down there, the Jimmy Johnson compound. It's brilliant. I mean, what a great idea. This guy knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to relax. And so he put together a place there, and it just, with Larry Calvano, that is absolutely spectacular. And it's a great place to relax. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And I would say this, of all the great places that there are in the Keys for dining and fresh seafood, I don't know that any place, I think I can say this without qualification, combines all of that in one place where you can get the great conch fritters and you can get like all of these fantastic, they're basically like designer pizzas, are they not?
Yes.
Unbelievable. And, at the same time, you can get the freshest seafood. I mean, get yourself a grouper sandwich there. And it's like that fish was jumping on the dock. Like just flopping there, a few hours before. And there's a giant difference. I remember the first time I ate, did you ever go to the Isla Morada Seafood Company down in Isla Morada?
No, I've heard of
before
it.
they had a location up here. And I couldn't believe it, man. I had some like fried dolphin or something. I was like, my God, this stuff is melting in your mouth because it just came out of the ocean. So when you get it like that at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, I mean, the way they prepare food with Dominic and Jemmy running the kitchen and his wife Amanda running the place, it really is a spectacular experience. If you're looking to relax any day of the week, I would imagine, they're slammed on the weekends, no? But and that just adds to the vibe. Especially, you're going to be watching like NCAA tournament games, things like that. You're a sports fan, great place. You're a music fan, they have great bands there all day long. I mean, and they bring in one after another. I really was amazed by that. It looked like the Funky Biscuit, for God's sake. It was pretty incredible. And outside, too, with the beautiful sunsets in the Bay Area, going to have some daylight savings coming up. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Put it on your itinerary, people. If you're heading for the Keys, trust our advice, as Tony Segreto would say. Just make that, if you're heading south, make that right into Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill on mile marker 104. You finally get there, right? You get over that road there that goes by the prison and the swamp and everything and the Jewfish Creek, which they don't call it that anymore, do they? Because Jews were insulted by having a fish named after them. It was like a giant grouper. I thought it was an honor, didn't you? Jewfish?
I didn't mind the name. It didn't bother me, but people are weirdly sent.
They really, I mean, there was a movement to have that stricken down. To call the giant grouper, the Goliath grouper, a Jewfish, there really was a movement to get that, corrected because it was disparaging. Did you think that?
Yes, I think so. I think you're right. I don't think it's called that anymore, which is to me stupid. But
what about the creek there, the little bridge, man? Jewfish Creek. That was always, kind of a landmark where you said, wow, yes. Okay, we're already at Jewfish Creek. That means we're here.
Yes, you're right? At the Keys when you get there. That's what that.
But then you had that like 20-mile jaunt before you got to Key Largo. And the very first thing you come upon is the turn you want to make. And if you're heading out of the Keys, zip a left in there if you're going north because it's well worth it. Great accommodations also. And this is especially true if you're watching around the country. You want to come to like Key Largo, have a great vacation. Maybe you're going to share a place like an Airbnb with another family. Forget about that. Check into the accommodations at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Lubie, I didn't let him into the place because he would have been crying that he was sleeping in the back of a Corvair that was a junker car that was sitting outside of C.J. Spiller's place, right? Which wasn't, a giant place down there. And the guy, he's making a living and, living kind of a casual lifestyle. But Lubie was like, you were sleeping in the trunk of a car, were you not?
Again, not to disparage anyone who gave me somewhere to stay. Yes, it felt like that. I've never slept in bathtubs before and been more comfortable.
Yeah. Prison cells have better accommodations.
I haven't done that yet, but I feel like maybe.
I couldn't show you where we were, Mustang.
I did not want to see it. It was not going to make me happy at all. But I'm happy for you, and I'm happy that they have that for others down at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's great, man. Check it out, JimmyJohnson'sBigChill.com. And we have to get down there, Lubie. Still waiting.
I'd love to. I know John's been. It's why we haven't had John on for weeks. He's been dealing with a family issue for a few weeks. So now we have to worry about him. I haven't heard back from them down there. I guess look, if it's busy here, I can't imagine how busy it is there. Yeah. So this is like, because last year when we went the last time, it was before the season, football and regular. Now it's like high season. Like it must be a madhouse down there. But we will get.
Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, yeah. With spring break, forget about it, man. I mean, how spectacular would it be to spend spring break in the Keys?
I did. My freshman year, when we did spring break, it was at Key West. And we definitely would have loved. I didn't know about a Big Chill then. I would have loved to have somewhere to stop because that drives a pain in the ass.
First time I came down here was, I believe, my senior year in high school on one of these things, and we had 9 guys staying in a room at the Surf Comer Hotel, which this predated South Beach being South Beach. Although it wasn't like a dump then. It wasn't like when I moved back here in '81, where literally, I'll never forget that. When we were going to buy like a $5 bag of weed, and a guy, I barely even knew the guy, but he was like living next door to me, and we become friends. And he took a gun with him. I'm like, you're buying a joint there, kid. I mean, we're not robbing a bank. What the fuck? I don't think I want in on this deal. And I thought, wow, that's Miami. That was one of my first experiences down here. So I don't know that it tainted my view. But anyway, all right, we're coming back with more. Mike Mayo at 12 o'clock today. And Mayo was at Aruba, and it looked like he ate everything on the menu.
And there's no mayo today. That's
right. That's right. He's going to
been texted us. No
He's got a
mail.
thing to do. Yeah.
We're saying goodbye to our dear friend.
Yeah, no, it's a very sad story. I mean,
He'll show face for us, and he'll be there.
Yeah. Our condolences to with Sean, right?
Yes, Poker Sean.
Big Sean, Poker Sean.
Poker Sean is what they call me. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, it's terrible, man.
It's sad.
That stuff happens. Yeah, no, especially to a very young guy.
Young.
All right, so no Mayo show today. He's going to be attending services for his departed friend, and we send as I said, our sympathies and condolences because I really like that guy. He always made me feel good. Yeah.
When he supported the show, he supported us. Like he became a friend of ours. It's a really sad story. And
I mean, a guy you wanted to get to know better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of thing. All right, we'll come back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
And once again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's 8:22. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. That could be another book that we put out. Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. The end is near. You can tell the end is near, man. You could definitely do that.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
It was exhausting yesterday. It really was, Mike Lubie. It's that safari hunting for the Rainbow Pick 6 mandatory payout. It creates chaos in many different worlds, including the financial world. It just does. And then you realize how weak you are at math when I couldn't multiply. I think I was trying to multiply 5 times 5 times 5 times 4 times 3. What do you come up with there? 5 times 5 times 5 is 125, right?
Yes.
Times 4 is 600 times 3. That's 1,800.
Okay, good for you.
So we were trying to work this out to have 1,500 combinations, which 1,500 wasn't near enough because we were out of this thing by the second leg. Watching this 4 to 5 shot run up the track, and then our other option was nowhere, and that was that. And then we lost the next leg, and that was it. It was time to just take the ticket and rip it in shreds. Which you don't get any consolation on this. I mean, if you hit 5 out of 6, it's no good. It's 6 out of 6 or nothing, my friend. Most disappointing and devastating, of course, is to come to the last leg with like 5 of the 10 horses in the field and lose. Paid $40,000 though. Is it worth it? 3 guys chip in $100 apiece. Would you do that to? You knew if it wasn't all favorites, it wasn't like there were any giant price horses in there. I think the highest price horse was $16 in the sequence, and this is a 20-cent wager for an individual ticket. So theoretically, you could hit it with 20 cents. That's not happening. Although I do believe that Sheldon G. of the gigantic, $500,000 Super Bowl bet fame, Sheldon G., our good friend Sheldon, once hit like for about 30,000 on one of these bets with a $3.20 ticket, something like that.
God. Are you kidding me?
That doesn't happen to me. Does it
No.
happen to you people? That doesn't happen to me. I have no luck. I was the guy they were thinking of when they wrote that song. If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all, right? Holy buddy guy. I mean, what are we talking about here? Fucking loser. Anyway, but we were dealing with if the guy that you're making the bet with, one of your partners, is so negative, like talking the whole time in Meshuggah terms about, we'll never hit this. It's a stupid bet.
Don't do it. Why would you?
I don't understand what Big Al didn't get about the math on this thing. He says, well, it's a mandatory payout every day. So the worst day to play it is this day when there's like all this money in the pool, right? There was like $5 million in the pool. And the deal is, on any other day, Lubie, I mean, it's a little difficult to understand for the average non-degenerate horse player out there. But the Rainbow Pick 6 was a concept that actually was sort of introduced to Gulfstream Park by our good friend Mike Nyman, who had seen this thing work at like Beulah Park, some subterranean, Z-grade track. But they had this bet, and it was kind of popular. And he thought, wow, that could really work here. And I believe he introduced it at one of the marketing meetings. And then, they quickly shut him down and said, you know what? That was my idea.
Yeah, exactly.
So when the higher ups, I don't know exactly how it went down, but they instituted it. And I would have to say, it's been an overwhelming success at certain times, especially on these mandatory payout days. And the thing is, they have to take the whole jackpot. Like on a normal day, if more than one person has the winning combination, which is more common than not, that to win the whole jackpot, you have to be the only person with a winning ticket. Okay. All right. But you do win a substantial amount of money if you're one of the people with a winning ticket. But they're only paying back, I don't know what it is. It might be like 40% of the pool or 60% of the pool. And the rest carries over. And then on certain days, which is like once every few months, they have to pay out the whole jackpot for some reason. I'm not sure if it was Disney or DeSantis. I don't know who exactly mandated this. But it's a major payday for horse players that think, hey, let me put a few bucks into this and see if I can't come away a winner. Now I've hit it twice on these mandatory payout days, but never for huge money. Okay, one time we had a lot of partners. I guess both times it paid about $10,000. But normally that same combination, if you were betting a 20-cent ticket, would pay like $2,000. The difference is there's all this money in the pool. So Big Al doesn't get that they pay out 100% instead of the usual, whatever it is. I think they pay out 75% of the pool on a regular basis, on a daily basis, and then 25% carries over. I believe that's, I can't swear to that, but I think that's the ratio. So, I mean, you're getting a gigantic payoff for the same combination that normally would pay far less on these mandatory payout days. So we went for that, but unfortunately, we did come home broke. I had to use my credit card to buy some sunscreen so I could do my walk of life today. They always look at you funny when you have one item, right? I guess, it's not uncommon today because nobody carries any cash. No. And, a guy asked me, actually, as I was leaving the facility yesterday, after, taking it on the chin for about $1.50, I did have a guy that I've never loaned money to or even associated much with before, except passing in the night. The guy looks a little bit, and he's a nice guy, but he looks a little bit, who was the actor that was in Night Moves? The guy that rubbed the sandwich, the mustard on the wall and said, there's your sandwich. And he was a character actor in a lot of stuff. And his name, I can't come up with it right now, but a very, very famous character actor. This guy looks a little bit like him. And, so I'm always struck by him.
Not Gene Hackman.
No, not Hackman. In Night Moves, the movie Night Moves.
I know, I'm looking at him now.
And this guy's been in a zillion things, man. I mean, you would know him right away if you saw him. Tall guy with a real geeky face. And this guy asked me if I could squeeze him a 20, literally, in the tradition of that guy, Jimmy, that we were always talking about. And fortunately, I was able to say, I don't carry cash anymore, man. I just bet on my phone.
Yep. Honestly.
Yeah.
You don't bet on your phone. But.
Yeah. Did you peruse the cast of Night Moves?
Yeah. Gene Hackman is in Night Moves. That's
okay. And Keaton, Michael Keaton's a star. And, get down the list there of characters. The sandwich delivery guy was a guy had starred in many, many movies on his own, right? I think, yeah. We'll come up with it if nobody else does.
There's a lot of people in it. None of them, they don't title them the sandwich delivery.
As soon as you see this guy's face, you know who I'm talking about. I'm embarrassed I can't come up with his name. I really am. Totally embarrassed, Lubie.
Only Griffith.
Anyway, we're badly sidetracked here. What would you say?
Obviously.
Have we boxed ourselves into a corner? What's that?
James Woods was in it. And
No, it wasn't James Woods.
John Crawford. And
Minor compared to all of these guys. I mean, even his name would not necessarily clue a lot of people into who we're talking about.
There's a guy named Dennis Dugan who played the boy.
No boy. He was also, was he the guy in Back to the Future? Was he in that movie as well? I'm not sure. He was in one of those things, and as a big star. I played like a professor or something. I'll look it up. I can't really do it while I'm sitting there yapping.
I'm so confused.
All right, what do you want to dive into here, Libby? Where are you at in terms of the sporting world right now? You're so NBA intensive. I don't know. I mean, we talked about this on Defo on 5 on the 5 Reason Sports Network, which the thing has been posted, and Scoop's going like, thank you. Scoop's on top of that stuff, isn't he? If his guys let something fall through the cracks, man, Scoop is right on top of it too. I mean, he's like human Flex Seal, this guy. Which this latest Phil Swift demonstration I thought was a little far fetched, right? Where he puts a drop of glue between two gadgets, and then it hoists 6 tons of bricks, even though it wasn't previously attached. You can have a team of welders work on this thing for like weeks, and it wouldn't have been able to support this. But this one drop of glue, come on, Phil. I mean, it was one thing when he took the boat over Niagara Falls there that was, cut in half, and he taped it up with Flex Seal. That was, not even semi-believable, right? Oh, and then he was on like whitewater rafting. I mean, this fat guy that's recommending Flex Seal. A guy, good for him, right? That he latched onto something like that. He's probably making more money than Shatner did when he was endorsing whatever that website was. Priceline.
Priceline, early in Priceline. Yeah.
See, that's what we need at this point. We need to get involved, like with Greenlight Ventures, a public company, and then just cash out when it's at its peak.
It's fine with me.
And then after that, it's like Sam Bankman-Fried, man. I mean, non-extraditable country. And I don't know what happened there, but don't call me anymore.
I think I won't be shocked. That's the funny thing is if it came out that's where's Defo now? No one would be shocked. Yeah, it's all right.
Honduras, can they get you back from there? Honduras, I'm not sure. I can dig it though. I'm almost at that point. I'm still too attached to modern day society to do the thing where you never put a pair of shoes on, and the most arduous thing that you do on any given day is ride your jet ski, off the place that it's kind of parked right on the beach, right? You don't even have a dock for it. You just bring it up on the sand there, put a cover over it, flush the engine out once in a while, but. Yeah, I mean, could you do that? Like, some raw shack somewhere, like the place in the Corona commercial when they have the thing around Christmas time, those commercials, which, by the way, I don't know. What do you think about Corona beer? I'm not a big Corona beer fan.
I like it. I don't love it. I used to drink it years ago, like spring break in college and when you're out by the pool, but, I don't keep it.
Who are they trying to appeal to with Snoop Dogg, do you think, as their spokesperson? Corona beer. You would think it would be like Canelo Alvarez or something, no?
First of all,
when I fight, I always drink Corona.
I've seen Mexican fighters represented, but yeah, they're trying to get the broader audience by having the guy from Saturday Night Live or that stupid Fox show and have Snoop Dogg. They're trying to broaden the audience, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, okay. That other guy is famous. The doofus.
The one that does the rap. The one that does the rap and then Snoop Dogg. They don't do that.
Oh, he's from Saturday Night Live. I didn't know that.
Writer. He was on Saturday Night Live for years, and then now he had a sitcom on Fox. Now he has another sitcom. I don't know. I'm not a fan of him, but he is well known. Yes, the younger audience.
The Find Your Beach campaign was pretty good, I thought. Not sure that I'm buying what they're doing now, but I don't care for it anyway. I don't know. Any beer that you got to stick a lime in to be able to tolerate it. I don't know. Wouldn't you be better off? I'm not a big fan of all of these craft beers or anything, but I have to say that Copper Point Brewery, they gave us a little 6-pack
They
to
were
sample. Mayo managed to confiscate one, and it was good. It was good. It's not my Budweiser, which that shows you I have a very
very simple.
primitive taste when it comes to beer.
Tim Haldeman, does that ring a bell? I mean, seeing his face. I've never,
No. I mean, soon as I say the guy's name, you'll remember it because we've mentioned it a zillion times on the show. It's a
not
shame that we.
I just don't see. Those are all the names. Like
He was a sandwich delivery guy in Night Moves, which was part of probably one of the most memorable scenes in the movie was when he wiped the mustard on the wall, and he goes and he hands a sandwich. It was almost like a duplicate of that thing out of Casino, although it came out before Casino, where the guy. Keaton says, "Hey, I was supposed to get no mustard on this," and the guy wipes the mustard on the wall and says, "There it is, no mustard." No, like when the guy spit in the sandwich in Casino.
that.
I
Yes,
don't know.
I know Casino well. I don't know Night Moves.
He wasn't in Casino. This guy, but he's been in thousands of movies. It's unbelievable. All right, what do you say, Louis? We come back with more in a moment here on the show. It's Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. We could get into a little bit of NBA if you don't mind, Louis. Is that okay?
I've been
NBA?
look. I'm getting back into, even though the Heat are very frustrating and confusing.
The
at this
Heat are
time.
just not that good this year.
No, they're not.
I mean, why don't you just come to this realization that you can't make them into something they're not.
I've accepted it. I mean, look, the Knicks are playing well, but they should have won that fucking game. I mean, the fact that literally it was a weird, like that last shot.
Oh, well, what luck there by Randall. I mean,
It was
come
a
on.
tough shot, and good for him that he made it.
Yeah.
But he should have stolen the ball 3 times.
That was
Then
Luka Doncic, making that shot.
It was just weird because the Heat had 3 chances to steal it, and then when he goes to shoot it, he's wide open. It's like, how are you on him until he shoots it? And he had a clean look. It's like, how do you give a guy? He couldn't pass it. There's a second left. Why would you not be in his face? Whatever. It's just they've been very they're losing to the Nets.
That shot was blind luck it went in, man.
It was.
really was. Yeah.
Wasted one, but I'm just saying, like,
He was hot, but that was ridiculous to cap it off.
he'd have just played bad. They played bad basketball. They got
Is he the comeback player of the year, Julius Randle?
That's
Could he
a
be?
good question because 2 years ago he was an all-star caliber
Yeah.
player. Last year he fell off a cliff, and now he's
Well,
back.
they wanted to get rid of him, man. I mean, it was literally, a verbal lynch mob. I don't want to, use anything and no reference to any racial stuff, but they were on the attack on Julius Randle. They wanted him out of New York. They thought he was the detriment to the team. And I'm not sure what they thought. I guess there was always some thought that Quickly could turn out to be something, but wasn't he the guy that was included in almost every trade conversation that they had?
Yes,
That
well,
Quickly was going to go. He was brilliant last night. Had like 38 points. He couldn't miss.
and he was great.
Fantastic. 9 in a row for the Knicks. Double overtime. Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on with the Knicks, but good for them, I guess. They've been
They
down
were
for-
getting hammered. They were getting pretty well handled through about 3/4 of that game.
Yes.
And then I turned away for a while. And when I came back, they were in the lead at the end of the third quarter. Literally, they'd scored a couple of knockdowns or something. I was a complete reversal of form. And then they had a pretty substantial lead. We've seen Boston do this a few times this year where they look to be hopelessly out of it with like a minute and a half to go. And they somehow rally and overcome a 7-point deficit, sends games into overtime. I don't know. A lot of euphoria, Lubie, in this New York Post today. I mean, they don't have that game covered, but they're really digging this streak, and it doesn't help your team any. Your Miami Heat, that's for sure.
Disaster. I mean, the Nets got to win yesterday too, and the Nets are supposed to fall off.
Yeah, but they played Charlotte without LaMelo Ball.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
one, they should be on the same term as Charlotte.
Their win over the Celtics, though. I mean, it does seem like the Celtics are starting to wilt a little bit. No, and I don't mean Chamberlain.
I think the Celtics are really good. I don't think the Celtics are. I've never understood why they put them on the same level as the Bucks. I think the Bucks are in a class of their own.
Yeah.
And I think the Celtics and Sixers.
Did they get the Dragon, by the way? The Bucks.
Yes, they did. The Bucks have done all the stuff that he should have done, and the Heat didn't. They went.
I
and
don't
got
think Dragic was going to take the Heat over the top.
No, but I think he contributed in a way that Lowry hasn't played in 13 games, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with him. He says his knee's bothering him, so they can't push him. The doctors haven't found anything wrong with the guy. So get rid of him.
And Selznick is looking at the guy going, you look fine to me, Kyle.
That's supposedly the word. Supposedly the word is he's probably okay, but he doesn't think he's okay, so they can't push him. Okay, so then why is he on the roster? I guess that's
he wasn't going to take him over the top either. They don't have the goods, Libby.
very clear.
Look in the mirror and tell yourself they don't have the goods.
No, I did.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have it all the time, but they are going to have to make some kind of adjustment in thinking.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, how treacherous their situation is with salary cap considerations and concerns. But if they keep coming back with this same team, they're not going anywhere.
They need to turn over the roster. I mean, look, Bam and Butler are your pieces, and everyone else should be up for grabs. Even Hero hasn't grown the way you're supposed to. He just hasn't.
No, Hero's wildly inconsistent. You know, you'll see him score 33 one night and 14 the next.
Yep.
And while he has a lot of offensive ability, I don't know that he becomes a liability ever. But you're asking yourself, why isn't this guy more consistent at this point? I mean, he was last year, right? Sixth man of the year.
Well, because they had the perfect role. Like Lowry gave you a little bit more last year. He wasn't good, but he gave you something. He's giving you nothing this year. Hero was supposed to step up and be the third dude on this team, and he's more like a fourth or fifth guy. That's what Hero is, and it doesn't work.
Jim Sarney has finally gotten to me here.
But Inter Miami.
Did he have to mention Kurt Kitayama?
I
told you I was betting Scotty Scheffler to win the Arnold Palmer tournament because I was getting about, I don't know, I think it was 9-1. He's right there, Lubie. He's right there. Okay. He's 7 under. The leader is at 8 under. Kitayama looked like he'd fallen apart. He puts 2 balls into the woods. I mean, like, you needed like a duck call to help track the ball down. Right? You're not finding this stuff. It's in the wilderness, man. In the water, out of bounds. So it looked like he was falling apart. He came in as the leader, I believe, 11 under in the third round. Scheffler works his way all the way back, and then he puts a drive right down the middle of the fairway on 18. A very easy birdie hole from there, and he bogeys the freaking hole. Bogeys it. Goes from -8 to -7. He's out of it. Kitayama, I'll give him credit, man. He held a good putt and made a great shot on 16. Got the lead at 9 under and then managed to hold on, which was pretty good. He made a hell of a putt from like 50 feet, put it right on the lip there, and that was the clincher. So, I mean, it was painful to watch this. You had McIlroy in there at 8 under par. I mean, it was pretty good, the whole tournament. PGA, I mean, burying. Where's Greg Norman, man? He's not opening up much of a big mouth anymore. You don't see Greg with his arm around Donald Trump so far this year, do you? With the LIV Tour?
About that tour at all.
How inconsequential is the LIV Tour? Where even with, I mean, they did attract and lure away some star power. It's not like it was all older stiffs, the Ian Poulters and the Phil Mickelsons of the world. They had some decent players that still had some PGA shelf life left in them, and nothing, right? 0.2 rating. Some cooking show on the Food Channel got a higher rating than the LIV Tour. Really did. I mean, they actually had the CW doesn't, generate big ratings. So, there's a certain amount to be said for the fact that, the platform wasn't really conducive to getting a big rating. You would really have to be exceptional to, be the top rated show there on the CW because nobody's watching to begin with. All right. NBC, you tune in, you go, oh, look, there's golf. Okay. All of a sudden you register as part of the ratings, accumulation there and cum by, the network. But, the CW, it's hard pressed, right? When we were on 940, we weren't ever going to get great ratings because the station wasn't getting any ratings.
There was nothing on. It was just us.
You rarely see somebody that is just knocking it out of the park from a rating standpoint on a channel, a network, or any venue, any platform that is doing zero viewership or listeners any other way. Tell that to Jack Namer, right?
Oh, it's true. Look, I mean, the reason I find a lot of the stuff that I end up watching is because I just go to Netflix. I'm already going to Netflix. I just go to Amazon Prime. I'm just going to Amazon Prime on my own already. If I wasn't just going there, I wouldn't find a lot of the stuff I watched. And that's radio was the same thing. A lot of people that would just be on whatever the hell channel, whatever across the country, you just go to WEEI. So you find this. You just go to, like that's just how it is.
Right. You could have some schmuck on there, some schmuck that you would never listen to, but he's on the station that you're tuned into. And so you're sitting there going, I hate this guy, but I'm listening.
Well, so we've had a lot of success on 5 Reasons. They have a lot of people just go there. So they find us there.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it is.
Yeah. But I mean, Sarni obviously doesn't realize the pain of being a degenerate. Does he? He does gamble a little bit. Chooses his spots. And I'm sorry I didn't get that bet down for him where he would have won a futures bet on something like a tennis tournament or something. Oh, the soccer, right? He would have won the World Cup.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had a team
He had
that
Argentina. He wanted Argentina from the beginning.
Argentina. He wanted them at 8-1 or something. Not too bad.
That's
I would have given him more of a chance with Argentina Apollo, man, the professional wrestler, to become a world champion again. He must be dead for 100 years. No, that was one of those things. Unfortunately, I got the text when I was already on the bus, the Alta Cocker bus. And once you're on, you don't give up your seat, even though you're on the bus a half hour before they're taking off. Did I have my luggage? Did you see him put it on board? Okay. I gave the man $1. Guy's picking up like a trunk that has like a body in it. I mean, the wife passed away while she was on the trip, and they're bringing a coffin onto the bus, and the guy puts it on, and the guy gives him $1. That's the beauty of those trips. It's fantastic. All right, we'll come back. We'll dissect some of this stuff, Lubie. Very curious about your opinion on this NBA, a wild day. I mean, in the NBA and NCAA basketball, that's for sure. But please, the pain of watching Scheffler right down the middle of the fairway on 18. I mean, you pop I think he's going to go with kind of a easy 9-iron here. 9-iron to Arnie's 18th hole there at Bay Hill. And, you can put it right in there on the pin, tap it in. He wins the tournament or at least is in a playoff with this Kitayama guy. And instead, boom, nothing. Nothing. And add insult to it, he 3 putts. Sick. Lubie, I'm sick. Stick at 9-1, man. Would have looked good right now. It really would have made a big difference. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
See, our Degenerate Friday show, I mean, we're assuming that it's all degenerates that tune in, right? They understand the pain. That's what it is. They understand the pain.
Oh, for sure.
It's 8:48.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
This comes from the great Defo Lama. It's the bets you don't make, the chances you don't take, that can compromise an otherwise incredible life, my friend.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
All right, it came to me, Lubie, believe it or not, as I was starting to look it up. Vincent Schiavelli was the guy's name. Vincent Schiavelli, the tall guy, geeky face.
He's not listed at all in any of them. I don't think you're thinking of the right movie because he's not listed at all in Night Moves.
No, he was definitely in that movie.
Okay, well, he's
Vincent
not.
Schiavelli.
If you look at the credits. He's not listed any. Mayo literally was sending me screenshots. I'm like, Mayo, I know. I've looked at it. I don't know who Devo's talking about because no one described in that description is in the cast. Like that's not. Like,
Well, he was in everything else.
Yes, he's been in a ton of stuff, and I know exactly what you're talking about. The guy from Ghost, the guy that had the crazy hair, the tall, thin dude, and he had side roles and never was really a main dude. I don't see it here at all.
I don't see that listed either. So who was in that? Who was the guy that delivered the sandwich?
They're saying it's Tim Haldeman, delivery boy. Tim Haldeman.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I think you're thinking of a different movie or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I thought it was Schiavelli. I really did.
Michael Keaton's not in Night Moves either. Like, I don't see
Okay, maybe I'm thinking the wrong movie. Okay.
You are thinking
that's
of
what
a very
is, yeah.
different movie.
It wasn't called Night Moves. The one where Michael Keaton says that you should put the mayonnaise in the can. Mayo should be familiar with this, right?
I'm going to look up.
Where he says, he's an inventor, and he says, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we put the mayonnaise already in the can of tuna? And that's Michael Keaton's role. And Schiavelli's in that, whatever the name of that movie is.
Okay.
I thought it was Night Moves, though, right? A little
Can tell.
Bob Seger talking about the night moves.
Yes.
Night shift, maybe. Is that it?
Night shift is what.
There
I think.
you go. Night shift.
Night shift is what you're thinking of. Yes.
So the whole conversation we had was meaningless. I mean, we did everything we could to lead you astray and have you completely in a fog as to what we were talking about. All right, let's get into this NBA dissection here, Lubie. This is very important that we do this. Does Kevin Durant need to win a title on his own to cement his legacy? Okay, now, if you want to just dodge that argument, which I don't know that you could come to any definitive conclusion as to whether you were right or wrong, no matter what side you took, right? In that one, it's not like looking at the current political scene or any of this stuff where I'm thinking you people are crazy. But what's good though is you don't fight about it. You're right about that. Since Sleepy Joe came in there smoking Joe Biden, we're really not in these bizarre fights as much anymore. I told you I dabbled in a little politics there, just literally fucking around. I was remembering the Dick, Jane, and Sally reader, which was as simple and simplistic as you could get, although it had a certain amount of sexual double entendre in there, which I think was intentional on the part of the authors.
Probably.
Right. Because it was like, look, oh, look, see Dick run.
I'm a grown man. It makes me laugh.
Like a picture of a big penis there. No, it wasn't like that. It was so simplistic. I mean, nobody could have had an issue with these books, could they? And I just, facetiously implied that, Ron DeSantis would have banned Dick, Jane, and Sally, the reader, if he was around when that was a popular child's educational tool, which it was for me, right? I remember reading those books. Look, oh, look, see Dick run. Dick sees Jane. Dick pops an erection. That's the way DeSantis would see the transition go. Why are we talking about erections? To a bunch of first graders.
But they don't. Whatever. I'm not even going down there.
But it triggered, and maybe that's a bad word for it. It ignited a political war.
Yes.
Among guys. And look, I have friends that are just staunch right-wing Republicans. And, they look at me like I'm crazy.
I don't get it.
And I'm thinking, I may be crazy, but you guys are really crazy. Is there a middle ground there? I don't even know. But I have, look, far be it from me to disrespect anybody's opinion, correct, Lubie?
Wow.
But it did look like, it really did look like an FBI most wanted list with Taylor Green there. Matt Getz, man, he has the look of evil. Doesn't he look like Herman Munster? Not yes. Herman. Who was the kid on the Munsters?
Herman Munster.
Was it Herman?
Yes.
He's got the same hair and face as the kid on the Munsters, doesn't he?
Yeah, yes, he does. But that's the problem. That's the
I think that was Vincent Schiavelli. That played that. I don't know.
I don't think it was Schiavelli.
All right, so what do you say about this Durant thing? He scores 30 last night. He has the dagger shot with about 11 seconds to go in a game. My man Devin Booker, who to this day you won't admit was a far superior basketball player to Justice Winslow.
What do you mean? He's turned out to be the best. That's the problem with that draft is he's the only one that was good. So he had a better chance of failing than succeeding.
Who else? Who was in like the top, top 5 that year?
Karl Anthony Towns has turned out to be pretty good.
So he's a good player.
Towns wasn't a bust, but he hasn't been as good as Booker. Porzingis was another guy that was in that draft.
Porzingis was an interesting player, but never really, did anything sensational. Yeah.
And look, Winslow, the guy Stanley, whatever that the Pistons took, like it's a long list of. Booker was the only guy that's really turned out to be anything in that draft. That draft turned out to be garbage.
Still baffles me how scouts don't see this. How is it possible to be a professional sports scout and have no insight into what you're looking at? To not be able to, go ahead and sort of forecast who can transition and take their ability that is inherent and unique to them and make it work as a pro. How do they not know this? There was, what did I tell you? I saw this guy for like 3 seconds. I said, wow, that guy's going to be a good pro.
He just barely played at Kentucky. He was a backup point guard. So, like, it's hard to.
Yeah. He was he the 7th guy on Kentucky to be drafted in that draft?
He was 6th or 7th on that.
Yeah. Who was the big center? He was a bust. He didn't look like he was going to be much. They had a center on that team that went, I think, well before Booker was the top 5.
See, now I'm confusing drafts because Bam was
maybe. I don't know if it was Towns.
Towns was on that. Yes, Towns was Kentucky. Went number 1, and
There was another guy, like he was a big man. I don't know if he was a center, but he was a big man. And I think he had a hyphenated name, and he wasn't all that great.
Oh, Cauley Stein. Yeah, I think Cauley Stein was in that draft too. And Frank Kaminsky and the other guy from Wisconsin were in that draft too.
Kaminsky, yeah. A lot of people doubted whether he was going to be a great pro.
Yeah, again, that draft was a disaster.
Yeah.
Towns and Booker. And Towns has never
The Winslow thing was particularly painful, and it will remain so, because if you think about it, I mean, did that lead to a long period? I know the Heat, in the year that, the bubble was there, that was kind of unusual with the COVID-19 thing, did make it to the NBA Finals, right? Did they not make it to the Finals that year?
He did.
Yeah. Okay. And you thought they had a shot in there, but they didn't, it turned out. But, I mean, that was an aberration, wasn't it? Because just a couple of years before that, they were like 11-30 in the first half of the season before they turned that around. And that led Pat Riley to make a bunch of really screwball moves that he's not normally inclined to do, which is, I mean, as cold-hearted as Riley was, like in that thing with Anthony, remember the guard, Anthony Carter?
Yes.
I mean, the second his agent let that slip pass, I mean, it wasn't even 12 1. It was like 12 o'clock and a half a second.
Yep.
And Riley had Carter's contract in the shredder, man. It was just like, whoosh, turn this up.
Yep.
So he could be cold-hearted, but then, he got suckered into giving, how many bad contracts did he
it was a ton.
Did he dole out there, right?
Hassan Whiteside ended up being a bad contract. Waiters bad contract.
Whiteside, wow, that was atrocious, right?
Tyler Johnson, bad contract. Like, he did a ton of them. Look, they were actually supposed to be bad that year. Jimmy Butler did what Heat fans are hoping Joel Embiid does this offseason, and that's why the Heat bank on getting free agents, not developing players. Bam and Hero and Wade are three outliers. Usually they just hope a free agent wants to come here, and it's worked. Like LeBron came here, and Shaq came here, and Jimmy Butler came here, and that's what saved them, and they turned around quicker than people would thought. But the problem is they don't have a lot of foundation. They don't have draft picks. They don't have a lot of young guys that anyone wants, and they're in a really horrible position. Like, the hope is Embiid supposedly, if the Sixers lose in the second round or earlier, is going to want out. And he's talked a lot about playing along Bam, because him and Bam's game.
Oh, there you go. Okay, now that would change things significantly. Yeah,
because Durant didn't want to come here, and
you give him Hero, you give him Lowry,
garbage. Yeah, you just give him
Duncan Robinson. You give him Pat Cummings' contract, remaining years on his contract, even though he's dead.
A little bit of Grant Long.
Grant might have some shelf life. UD gets dealt in the deal.
Yes, that's where the Heat are right now.
No loyalty. That's it. Just ice cold. You trade UD. Okay, well, that would make a difference. That's for sure. If you were like an evil James Lipton type that was doing sports interviews, like one-on-one interviews, where he sat the guy down and there was a spotlight on him and maybe like a little silhouette type of background, and you looked at Pat Riley, you're sitting down with the most distinguished guy maybe in the NBA history, and you just sat down and as the audience looked on, they got a little quiet there for a second, and you just looked at him and said, Dion Waiters.
Yeah.
Like, what? Waiters? Are you kidding me? That would do it, right? That would be the end of the show. Would you get a walk-off there?
100. Yeah, he would just get up.
It was kind of like asking Don Shula, how could you be satisfied with a win, no cover? And Don would just, that was it, man. Unclip the microphone and whoosh, right out the door. All right. Speaking of which, we have to get out of here. We're going to pop up a Believe podcast also today. Is that right, Mike Lubie?
Yes. Paula Ferris, former ABC correspondent, Good Morning America, now has a book out. So we're going to talk with Paula.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into that. I'll try to learn something about the book before we do that.
I sent you the email. The email's in there.
You dropped this one in on me, man. Will Ferrell, I mean, that might have been one thing. Paula Ferris. Well, we'll see. She's probably a very delightful young lady. And so that'll be popping up later on BLEAV Network. And, of course, we have the Defo on 5 now, going on 5 Reasons Sports Network. And no Mike Mayo Lunchbox show today, but Mike will be back with us tomorrow. And we'll have that at 12 o'clock. Are we out on the road this week, or what's happening with that?
Friday Gulfstream, and we're trying to figure out if we're doing a grandpa's possibly Tuesday or Thursday in honor of Purim, which is today.
A couple of open invitations to do shows. I don't know how much schlepping you want to do, Libby. But Deck and Spice, I would, now
Nice.
Mike's been there, so that's good. And he had a very high opinion of that. Very favorable. Lunchtime, they only have a buffet though. I think it's like $25. A buffet of
Let's
all
go
of that
checking
stuff.
it out. We can check it out.
Check it out. Yeah, no, Shaker's been a friend of mine for a long time. He has a great liquor store on McNabb, and then Mustang now pulling some shifts at Fishtail, so she's doing very well over there. They're always busy,
Nice.
man.
Oh, that's cool.
But I want to have Mayo sample the food there. I hope he doesn't make a face because I think it's like not that you should expect things not to be overwhelmingly good in this type of establishment where they're doing bands and things like
Yeah,
that.
they're known for live music, so you don't think food.
But the food is like top-notch restaurant food. I mean, like if you went specifically to like one of your favorite spots, the food
Food's
is
good.
commensurate with that. I believe that. I really do.
I like Fishtails.
And the beach bucket supposedly now is even bigger and
Wow.
loaded with more stuff.
Your favorite beach bucket.
So we're gonna have to get a beach bucket for Mike Mayo.
Well,
Although
no.
he said he didn't want to eat out of a bucket.
So between Fishtails, Aruba's now maybe a place we head out to, and also Esposito's. We want to get out there because
Oh, we got to get out there and help that guy out,
really
man.
fucked him.
Wine series buried him, man. Buried this guy.
The professor and I and you and Mike Mayo want to get out there, and I think maybe this week would be the week. We'll see. I'd like to get
All
out
right.
there, really bring attention back to that place because they do a good job. Andy Man went out there; he really enjoyed it. Mayo went out
Yeah.
there; he enjoyed it. So I'd like us to get out there and
Yeah,
China
no, that'd be great, man.
positively after the dirty dining totally demoralized Joe. And
Oh my God! I mean that was just cruel. I mean, you just I don't care what your position is. You just don't do that. I mean, you don't automatically have to bury someone, knowing that that's what's going to happen.
yeah, that's what happens. It's automatic.
It's
You don't come
crazy,
back.
right? Yeah.
You can come back, but
it's one thing
not-
the guy's a repeat offender, and as the guy's in there, roaches are crawling on Weinstier's face. But and with all due respect to whatever he's doing, I mean, it's fine. I'm sure he seemed like a stand-up guy. He came on the show, but
yeah, I totally appreciate.
very cold opinion about that one.
There's got to be different delineate. Like, okay, your first time, if you have nothing that week, you need to do a show, fine, but then explain the crap.
A state inspector, though, I mean, here in Florida, I
they
mean,
don't bat a
you're going to
thousand.
tell me that every one of them is right on the money about everything that they do? You got to be kidding me.
They don't bat 1,000. Okay, we
Yeah.
know that everyone has bad days. We know everyone.
Even the inspector should issue a warning and then give the person a chance to clean the mess up if there is one. I mean, and say, hey, you're doing a few things here. I know you're trying to do a good job, but you're doing a few things here that just aren't in compliance with, state law. So, well, we're going to come back on Wednesday, and if you got them cleaned up, then no problem, right?
Especially if it's a first time.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Unbelievable, man. Burial. Okay, we got to get there. What's it? Esposito's Pizza, and where's that, Davy?
It's off of 84. It's in Davy.
Oh, okay. A little out of the way for the D.
I know it's far for you. I get it, but I would like us.
But
to
I want to support the guy. I thought he was a great guy. I really did.
yeah, I'd like to get out
Okay.
there. I really would.
All right, we're coming back tomorrow then.
Yes.
At 7 in the a.m. and also with Defo on 5 on the 5 Reason Sports Network.
At 8
And we'll have a Believe podcast up shortly, BLEAV Network. And see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my